Hello, hello, welcome back. Today we are on a tour of the northeast corner of Skye. I'm going to do a giant, great big loop around this part of the island, stopping off at quite a few different locations and seeing what this wonderful place has to offer at those stopping points. So follow along with us. First stop we're heading for is the Ferry Glen, just by Uig. And as we're coming up the road here, you can see the Uig Pier where one catches the ferry to many of the popular islands. You've probably seen Caravan Chit Chat catching the ferry to Harris from here. Please check out their Scotland videos, they are absolutely stunning. I'll pop a link below. What a magical space this Fairy Glen is. I mean, look at it. Absolutely beautiful. A bit chilly, but nevertheless a fantastic place for a picnic. So geologically, the Fairy Glen is a miniature landslip. A little bit like the Currang at the centre of this part of the island. Skye has this long association with fairies, although that's probably related to the fairy flag at Duntulum Castle, which we showed in our last episode. So there are no particular legends or stories here, although it has been rumoured that tourist bus drivers have been making up little rituals for their passengers to follow the last few years, and there became a bit of a habit of people building stone stacks or stone spirals and so on, and the locals have been taking them down because obviously those things are not very helpful for keeping the land in its natural state and not very helpful to the local wildlife either. So please don't go building stone stacks, people. It's not the done thing anymore. So one of the hills you can see here is very flat topped, and this is a basalt topping, and for some odd reason it's become known as Castle Ewan. But of course there's never been a castle here, it just resembles a ruin. It is possible to scramble up to the top, although it's quite a small thing. Now there's no specific parking here, there are a few little slots that you can pull into, and we've been lucky enough that it's quiet enough that we can fit the car in up here. I suspect when it's peak tourist time, so we're here a couple of weeks before Easter, just before it starts to get busy, but when it's peak tourist time you're better off parking down in Uig and walking up. It's about half an hour, I think, up from the main village itself. Okay, next we're going to drive on round. We're going to leave the Ferry Glen. We're going to head slowly towards the Museum of Island Life, which is on the same site as the graveyard of Flora MacDonald, and also where there's a stone dedicated to Alexander McQueen. On the way through we've passed the Kilvaxter Souterrain. We didn't get a chance to stop there this time. Dad on a Mission was definitely on a mission, and he had the Museum of Island Life programmed into the sat-nav, and so that's where we were going. But interestingly, the Kilvaxter Souterrain, and it's where the crops were stored safely out of the way, particularly in the winter time. So you can actually go under the earth, hence the term souterrain. So I think what they used to do is dig out a huge area, line it with stone, and then backfill over the top so that the crops and things were kept safe throughout the winter. So on a little bit further round, when we come round to the Museum of Island Life, up the hill is the cemetery, which includes a dedication to Flora MacDonald and also a memorial stone there for Alexander McQueen, although his ashes aren't actually placed there. But Skye was the island of his father's birth. We've managed to time our visit, so the Museum of Island Life is closed. Now, what's interesting about Skye is that we, of course, looked at the attractions before we came, and lots were advertised as opening at Easter. And that wasn't very specific, so it wasn't clear whether they meant the Easter school holidays, some general random point at Easter, or specifically Easter weekend, so opening Good Friday onwards. And some of the attractions that said they were open at Easter were fully open, and some, such as the Museum of Island Life here, were closed, despite saying exactly the same thing. And of course you can't reach anybody by phone to ask them. Still, we managed to get a good look at the buildings themselves, good look at some of the machinery that would have been used in ancient times, so you can see what the crofts themselves look like, what the crofting life would have been like in terms of the machines and the tools available. The only thing you can't do obviously is go into the buildings to see what the more internal fitments were like, what more of an internal domestic life was like. So next stop on the journey, we're going up round the northernmost point. We'll have a quick stop for a view and have a nice chat to the man in the coffee shop. Now, unfortunately, the coffee cabin was only serving tea and instant coffee, so Dad on a mission was not impressed. He's very much a bean-to-cup man, even at the caravan. They wouldn't stoop to drinking instant, but still fantastic views at the top there. And then we've stopped again on the way down because we've actually come round the north side of the Corang, the central section of this part of the island that has the most picturesque landslips and cliff edges and so on. Not forgetting, of course, we had a little stop where the one of the houses that was on Grand Designs was featured, and I suddenly recognised it. So our next stop down is Staffin. So Staffin at low tide, you can see a dinosaur footprint. So either we didn't know what we were looking for, or we were looking at it in plain sight, or we were here and the tide was too high for the tide to actually be far enough out for us to see what we were searching for. But from here you get an excellent view as well of Kilt Rock in the distance. So on the way back up, instead of actually stopping again to look at Kilt Rock, me and little one having seen it from this angle, we decided to go past Kilt Rock and instead stop at Lealt Falls. Kilt Rock, of course, being the other end of the Giant's Causeway that one can see in Ireland. So the same sort of geological formations on either side of the sea. Again, back up the little track onto the main road and then around further to Lealt Falls. Clearly a very popular location. Lots and lots of tourists, clearly on the standard tourist bus route. So fantastic views out to sea and of the waterfalls themselves. Well, sort of round the corner a bit from there, I think. So there's this high viewpoint at the top end, if you like, of the car park, but also at the bottom end you can walk out on a deck that's cantilevered over the falls themselves, so get a really good view, much closer of the falls, and then the views of the surrounding landscape and the sea out from the higher viewpoint. Heading off for our last stop, which is the Old Man of Storr. Now, to walk up to the Old Man of Storr is about an hour, just over an hour from the car park itself. So the eldest and I thought we'd head up a little way and see what we could see. I don't think at this point in the day, this was after we'd been out for several hours, people weren't quite ready for a full hike of a couple of hours duration. It was getting a bit late, so we headed up a bit to see what we could see. Treated to some stunning views of the surrounding areas, but it was an awful long way to go back up to get all the way up to the Old Man of Storr, so we decided to call it a day and leave that for another day. So just to fully complete the route round, so you can see what the rest of the road conditions look like, we're coming back down the eastern side of the route towards Portree, and we'll just head slowly through the village itself, back towards the Camping and Caravanning Club Skye site. But before we do that, quickly pop into the Co-op supermarket, pick up on a few supplies. Really hope you enjoyed that overview and you got a chance to share some of the magnificent scenery with us. It's impossible to get across in a movie like this the rugged nature of the landscape, so absolutely beautiful, but in some ways very stark and disarming, if you like, for the ruggedness of it all and the wind conditions. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.